Amarone is an expensive bottle of wine, but do you know why? Today, Mariano Buglioni will explain the reasons and also tell you how he accidentally began making one of the most complicated wines in the world. He'll also tell you about a wine and food pairing that sounds absolutely impossible, but in fact is absolutely magical. Let's go. This is the Inside Wine Podcast. I'm Joe Janish, a certified specialist of wine and wine industry professional since 1996, giving you insider tips to make the right wine decisions. Today we are talking to Mariano Buglioni, who, along with his father Alfredo, run the Buglioni Winery in San Pietro Cariano in the Valpolicella region of Italy. From the time, Mariano, you were a small boy, you grew up in Verona, right?
Correct.
Right outside of the Valpolicella region. But unlike a lot of Italian winemaking stories, this isn't a story of many generations of Italian winemaking going back for 200 years or anything like that. In fact, you originally followed your dad into the less romantic textile business.
Exactly, in the garment business, right.
In the garment business. And somehow now you have a winery. Could you just walk us through how that happened?
That happened by, let's say, coincidence or luckiness.
Okay.
Because 1993, my father, Alfredo Buglioni, decided to purchase a house, a rustic house, an old one, just to go and live there with the family. So basically, me, my father, my mother, and me, and at that time my brother as well. But the idea was just to go and live, to have this beautiful property in the middle of the countryside with just nature.
Sure.
And not living anymore in the village where we are from. So still in Valpolicella, but couple of miles out of the village.
Away from everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Away from everybody, just be, by ourselves in this beautiful romantic area in the middle of, as I say, the nature. And it ended up that next to the house there was a vineyard, and we didn't purchase the property just because of the vineyard, but just because we wanted to have the older rustic house. That was the main goal.
Sure.
Once we discovered the vineyard was there, there was immediately, kind of a meeting in the family, what we do with the grape.
Sure.
And we didn't know what to answer because we never did something with grapes. So we didn't know how to collect, how to harvest, how to cut the grape, how to deliver somewhere because we didn't want to waste the grape.
And what year was this?
93.
93.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. We purchased the property August 93, and September we've got this problem, this issue to solve.
Jeez.
And so my father started to knock the door of the important wineries in Valpolicella, asking if they want the grape. And at that time, most of them, all of them, they say, no, we don't need because we have enough.
Sure.
There was not a huge demand. The value and the price of the grape at the time was really cheap in Valpolicella. So he decided to do a deal, an agreement with one of the winery we were talking to, saying that we were supposed to give the grape for free, but having a couple of guys coming and teaching us how to harvest. So which kind of scissor, the basket, how to deliver, and so on.
Old school bartering.
Absolutely. And then happened that we did this harvest. It was 5 days together with our team, the garment team. So none of us was doing harvest before. So we were like out of the blue. Okay, we go cut the grape. That was the deal with the guys. And those 5 days, they were beautiful because every night we were having fun together, having food together.
Sure.
Kind of real entertaining them a little bit, drinking some good wine as well. And then the guys, so our employees, they started asking, we have to repeat it again because it was beautiful. Magic 5 days together, like a team building, but very spontaneous, not fixed. And we promised them that it should have been done every year because we had to harvest. So 93 to 99, basically, we did the same thing. So having fun together, delivering the grape to one of the wineries we had the agreement, And 98, my father started to rebuild a part of the house that was very damaged and old. And he picked the idea to dig a little bit farther to have a big space below the house that he said maybe in future we can get a cellar, a winery. And we were like a little bit shocked, and we say, why not? But do you know what is a winery? And we say, no, I know it's a space where people used to produce the wines. And we were like, yeah, but who is going to do that?
Yeah.
So 99, when he finished the construction, he hired a consultancy of 3 very expert winemakers in the area.
Okay.
So they came in and they started to fix everything in the cellar to let it become a real winery. So, barrels, tanks, fermentation tanks, and then filtrations, and then bottling, and so on.
Wow.
So really,
the whole thing.
99, we were almost ready to start. We waited the 2000 vintage, where we didn't give away the grape, so we didn't give to other wineries, but we kept it to start our first vinification, our first fermentation, and so on. So we became a real winery. So 2000 was the vintage 0 for us.
Wow.
It was a magic moment because, we were so proud to have our own wine. But in the meantime, my father has been even thinking, further, because he didn't want to have just a consultancy. He wanted to have someone taking care of the winery. So me and my father went to San Michele Adige, one of the best winemaking university.
Sure.
And there we have got the list of the 10 best winemaker in the university. And we did an interview with the 5 of them, 5 of the guys. And finally, we selected Diego Bertoni, who started joining us since 2001. So he's still.
So the entire time you've had the same winemaker?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Since 2001, Diego is still our winemaker.
Wow, he must be pretty good.
He's very good. He's really very talented, as the university was saying. So was promoting him as the top 3 of the winemaker coming out from the university, graduating there. And we decided to hire him.
So tell me, so when you're a brand new winery, especially in Italy, where everyone has been around for 100 years or more, you probably want to get somebody who can come in and get high scores for you, get great accolades and all that. Was this how you made the decision?
No, it was not like that, because, at the moment that Diego was the only one who was asking, do you want the wine for scores, or do you want the wine that you drink the full bottle?
He asked you this?
He asked us that. And we were super surprised because we didn't know what the scores were. Yeah. And we say, okay, we don't know about press, we don't know about the scores, so we want the other one. That was really basically we didn't know which one was the wine with the scores, and we say no, we want the wines that you finish the bottle because you love the wine.
Wow!
And we started. So
that's amazing.
Really,
that's the exact opposite of every other winery startup of the last 30 years.
Yeah, I can say that because basically we totally changed our life in a few years. Imagine 2000 we started with Diego. 2004 we understood that people were not taking care and were not believing we could have succeed. So to prove that we were doing seriously and not just having fun, with the team, we picked up the idea to open one wine bar in the city center of Verona, so in our city.
Sure.
And we opened this spot that has been named Osteria del Bugiardo.
Okay.
It has got the name from our ripasso, that our ripasso is named Il Bugiardo, that means the liar.
Okay.
And it became one of the, let's say, top spot in downtown. So in the city center, whenever you ask where is Bugiardo, everyone knows where it is, really.
I want to tell our listener that if you've never been to Verona, it is definitely someplace you want to visit. It's a wonderful a little city in Italy, and definitely have it on your radar and on your trip next time you go to Italy. So now here you are in making Amarone, making Valpolicella in the early 2000s. Personally, my style, what I've known from Amarone, it's kind of a heavy wine. It's a little, a little more challenging to match with foods? If it's not something drowned in blue cheese, it might be hard to drink most traditional Amarones that have been around. But your wines, when I tasted them at the first time, I said, these are wonderful wines, and they're not what I expected from Amarone and Ripasso. So I guess my question is, do you think that being new to the area in comparison to everyone else, was that an advantage or was it a challenge for you?
No, I think so, because we didn't think to produce a wine from the producer perspective.
Okay.
But we thought to produce a wine, and we hard believed that was the right choice, to produce a wine that was more, something that people would have enjoyed. So from the perspective of the consumer. Mm-hmm. And that was the right decision, because to do the style of Amarone that you tasted, so not bold, not heavy, not tannic.
Yeah.
It was something that since 2011, so 10 years after, with Diego, we pick up the idea not to use, barrique, not to age them too much to get something that was for sure more impressive and more full body, bolder. And even, I can say, on the perspective of shocking palate, it wasn't shocking palate, more shocking when it was bolder.
Yeah.
Nowadays, so since 2011, when we decided to use only big cask instead of barrique, so imagine that a barrique is 225 liter, and the big cask we use is 5,000 liters. So it's almost 22 times bigger than a barrique.
Yeah.
That allows to have to respect much more the fruit. So you get the grape juice, you get the freshness, nice acidity, but in the meantime you don't get an invasion of tannins.
Right.
That most of the time they don't work. They don't help the wine to be smooth, to be even food with an easy food pairing, and you get something this bitter effect. That we didn't like, basically. So we didn't like to have this kind of effect serving the food. So that's the reason we went with Diego, and we achieved this kind of result with this soft, smooth, elegant style of Amarone.
Okay. So you decided to come to that about 10 or 15 years ago.
Exactly.
Did that happen as a result of just you talking together? Did the wine bar have anything to do with it?
Yeah, basically, whenever I was tasting our wines, and trying to pair them with the food, even the food we prepare, so with our chef and so on, it was very difficult, because every time we had to pick something that was overstewed, something that was
overstewed, yes,
heavy,
Yeah.
And most of the time, we didn't like that kind of food, because it was something that is not something that you need every day.
Right.
And we wanted to have an Amarone that was something easy to drink, even daily. So something that you can really pair with the regular food, so not trying to get something that was so difficult and so heavy.
Sure. It's interesting that you have a wine bar, so you have the consumers giving you the feedback right there at your place. So
absolutely, it's the first taste there. Imagine that whenever we release a new wine, the first consumer is our osteria, so is our spot, and there we realize immediately if it is the right time, the right moment to release the wine. We get immediately the feedback from the consumer. And that's very important, because we try, to understand what's going on every single vintage or with any wine, any new wine that we develop.
Yeah. And again, I don't mean to knock any of the traditional Amarone producers, because they're wonderful wines and they have their place and there are people who love them.
Absolutely.
And, I just was blown away going through your lineup and at the elegance and the freshness and more of almost like a feminine, I think.
Yeah. You can say that. We keep saying he's not masculine, he's not how do you say, he's not an Amarone that has got years of gym and so on. No, he's absolutely a dancer. He's something that is much more elegant and feminine. You're right. Yeah. Correct.
So even though it's more elegant and doesn't have as many tannins, can your Amarone age? Do you feel like it can develop more in the bottle? Is it better to drink earlier? Do you think there's a window?
No, it can age long because we are tasting 2011. We are tasting even previous vintages. But previous vintages, we used barrique. After 11, as I said, we didn't use barrique anymore. And whenever you taste them, for example, 9 compared to 11, they are both young. They are both, still very fresh, very fruity. And you get the perception that 11 is more delicate, is more elegant. 9 is a little bit bolder, is a little bit heavier, as I said. Even if both of them, they can last in a perfect way.
Okay.
The only good thing is when you don't use barrique, you can release the wine a little bit earlier because it's less tannins.
Sure.
And so due to that, it's not so bitter, it's not so heavy to taste.
Okay. So our listener may be somewhat familiar with Amarone and may or may not kind of understand how Amarone and Ripasso are different from other still dry wines. Could you just give like the quick overview of what's the difference between like Valpolicella, Ripasso, and Amarone?
Sure. Let's start from Amarone because it has a very unique technique to produce it.
Yes.
As you know, the tradition is that to get an Amarone, to produce an Amarone, you have to hand pick all the grapes, and then you have to dry the grape. So imagine that we are drying the grape between, let's say, average 2.5 months, even 3 months. And while drying, you get this, smoothness that comes from the fact that you get evaporation of water, and you get the shrinking, like a raisiny of the grape. And then due to that, you get a lot of sugar concentration.
Okay.
This heavy sugar concentration allows to have a long fermentation, where if you stop the fermentation after, let's say, 2 weeks, 15 days, you get a sweet wine. You get the Recioto.
Okay.
That is a dessert wine, but very pleased to use to pair with cheese as well.
Sure.
If you don't stop the fermentation and you go till at least 4 weeks, so 30 to 35 days, when the fermentation is over, means that all the sugar has converted into alcohol. That's why in Amarone usually you get a high concentration of alcohol, like between 15.5 to even 17.5.
Wow.
It depends on how much sugar you got from the drying process.
So time out for a second. When you say the drying process, let's back up a minute. Are you using like a blow dryer? Are you putting them in the oven? Like, how do you dry?
No.
How are the grapes dried? Like,
correct. We dry the grape just hand picking them and lay them down in one. It's a box. It's like a 5 kilo box for, as I said, almost 2.5 to 3 months. Why? And we stock. We put all of them in. It's a building. It's a drying room.
Okay.
Imagine that our drying room is something like almost 2,000 square meter, where we used to dry something like 250 tons of grape.
Oh my goodness!
All hand picked, all laid down in this 5 kilo box, and. Managing that kind of of process every single day, we are into the room to understand if there is anything going wrong, like some mold, some rats, something that is not helping to keep the quality. This drying room has a system where you have basically a ventilation, so a fans, some fans. Just to push out the humidity that comes from the fact that you get this evaporation of water from the fruit, and so this fence helps to release this humidity.
Okay.
And then we have other machines that helps to dehumidify the room, just in case of outside the weather is not dry enough or is raining. Then we switch on those machines just to help to dehumidify the room.
So you have this big building, like the size of a Costco warehouse.
Not that big,
but pretty big.
Yeah, big enough.
And you just have these boxes everywhere and
Absolutely.
A big dehumidifier.
Mm-hmm.
How many boxes is it about?
It's only 57,000.
Oh, that's it.
That's it.
Okay.
Not so many.
That's easy enough. Okay. That's amazing. So now we kind of have an idea of why Amarone is so expensive.
Oh yeah, it's so expensive, and one suggestion I give to everyone is be aware whenever an Amarone is so cheap, because it means that they didn't follow the exact process.
Okay.
Imagine that everything is handpicked, everything is done by hand, so there is no machine to collect those kind of grape. And you have to choose the best grape, otherwise you get problem with mold, you get problem with disease, and so on.
Sure.
So it's really something very specific, and it takes a long time, and you get immediately a shrinkage of 40% just in waste of weight for evaporation.
Wow.
Then you get another waste of between 10 to 20% during the aging into the barrel. And so imagine that to produce one good bottle of Amarone, you need at least almost 2.4, 2.5 kilos of grape.
How many grapes, like, how much is that for like a person to understand? How many grapes is that? How many bunches?
It's around 5 bunches, 5 to 6 bunches.
Wow, that's a lot of grapes.
Yeah, then it depends on the quality. Sorry,
sure,
on the varietal of the grape. Because if you think about Oseleta, that is very small cluster, you need 25 of them. If you go for Corvinone, you need 6 or maximum 7 of them. And the good thing of Valpolicella, imagine that in Valpolicella, whenever you're talking about Valpolicella, the classical one, the Superiore, Ripasso, Amarone, Amarone Riserva or Recioto, it's always the blend of 3 main grapes.
Okay.
3 main varietals. That is Corvina, the main one.
Yeah.
The second main one is Corvinone, and then you have Rondinella. Then you can add other varietals. Imagine Valpolicella has something like 31 varietals, indigenous varietals. So really, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But the most important are those 3. So Corvina, Corvinone, Rondinella.
And what's the role that each of those grapes play in the wines? Does one have more tannin? One have more
No, basically, fruit? Okay, you get some fruitiness from Corvinone. You get some flower notes from the Rondinella, okay. Exactly.
Sure.
And then you get from Corvino, you get the basic fruit note of cherry. You get this kind of component.
Okay.
And that is because you get this molecule in basically mainly in Corvina and Corvinone that is called rotundone. Mm-hmm. Rotundone. If you oxidate this molecule, it becomes it gets the flavor of cherry notes.
Wow.
If you don't oxidate that, and we produce one wine in a specific way where we don't oxidate this molecule, rotundone, it gets the white peppery note.
Wow.
Really, really crazy.
Interesting.
Super interesting.
So is it Sangiovese similar that way? Because that has a cherry note too, or not really?
You
doesn't have that.
Get something in the Sangiovese, then it depends even there on the clone of Sangiovese, because some of them is more on the cherry notes, some other they get more on the blueberry or blackberry notes. But even in Valpolicella, if you get, for example, as I said, Corvina is more cherry, Corvinone goes more a little bit on the blueberry, and then Rondinella gives this flowery note.
Nice. All right. So I took you back. So we got to... We understand now the drying process.
Yeah.
And we got to the fermentation with Amarone.
Correct. Once you finish the fermentation, usually we age between 1.5 to 2 years into the cask, so into the barrel.
Sure.
Basically, it's oak cask. And then you need almost 1 year further aging into the bottle. So once you bottle them, after clarifying and then after filtration, you bottle, and then 1 year aging into the bottle to release the product in a perfect condition to be drunk.
Great.
So it takes for us takes at least 4 years before to be released.
Again, and somebody has to store that wine. So again, it goes into the price of the bottle.
Absolutely.
If you wonder why it's so expensive.
To produce Amarone, that most of the people, to produce Ripasso, wow, I said all of them, sorry.
That's okay.
To produce Ripasso, that is basically known as a baby Amarone, but there is a reason because it's a baby Amarone. The reason is that as soon as you finish the fermentation of the Amarone, in the fermentation tank, you take out the wine and you leave the skin in the bottom of the tank, and you pump in the same tank the Valpolicella. So the Valpolicella goes through the skin of the Amarone, And this process in Italian language is ripasso, so passed again. So it means all the wine passes again through the skins of Amarone. And there, since in the skins of Amarone there is still some sugar residual, there is still some alcohol, there is still some juice of Amarone into the skin, starts a secondary fermentation. It's a very quick one, something like 3 to 4 days, but that quick fermentation allows to extract from the skin of Amarone, the color, a little bit of alcohol, a little bit of juice. You get the flavor of this dryness that you got from, the dry system. And so it's basically Valpolicella that becomes richer and gets very close to an Amarone smell, an Amarone taste. And so it's a kind of baby Amarone.
Okay. Another Amarone producer that I once spoke to kind of described the process as a tea bag.
Tea bag.
Like passing tea over another tea bag.
Exactly.
Sort of like that. I don't know.
Yeah. It's to understand the process is kind of that. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, again, I said your whole lineup, just wonderful, elegant, food-friendly wines. Mm-hmm. And I've enjoyed your wines with a lot of different dishes. But tell me, what is your favorite thing to pair with your Amarone?
Oh, the craziest one, and for me the most impressive, is something that doesn't go in the meat direction where everybody thinks about meat, but it goes in the fish direction.
Fish?
Absolutely. Thanks God, a friend of mine from Sicily one day came from Sicily with a beautiful raw scampi. I don't know if you know, scampi is like a baby langoustine or shrimps.
It's like a shrimp, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
So they were still alive, totally raw. Mm-hmm. And at the moment he came, he invited a few friends and he said, can you open up your Amarone that we are serving with the scampi? And I was shocked. I was like, how is it possible you serve Amarone with scampi? And he said, you never tried that? No, I never tried that. So I thought he was kidding me. I thought he was just having fun with me, just, to open a bottle of Amarone that we could have used somewhere else.
Yeah.
And no, finally, once he finished to prepare them, with just a little bit of very good olive oil on top of the scampi, he let me try that. And I was like blown up because I couldn't believe that it was a perfect matching.
Wait, you ate this with Amarone?
I ate it, the scampi, raw scampi with olive oil and a glass of Amarone, and I was really blown away. I couldn't believe. But then I thought, if you think about scampi, is fat, so it's sweet. Then you get olive oil that gives this, is helping to reduce a little bit the sweetness, so you go a little bit more on the olive side and a little bit more salty. And then once you drink the Amarone has two beautiful things. That one is still has some sugar residual, even a few grams of sugar residual is there. So you get the balance in the taste, in the palate. But then the alcohol helps to clean up the oily side of the fatness of the scampi.
Okay.
And once you swallow, and you have to count just 30 seconds. And after 30 seconds, the flavor of scampi is back in your palate. It's like something magic, really. Unbelievable. Something impossible to believe, but it's true.
I'm having a hard time believing this, but you're telling me it. So the next time I can get my hands on some good raw shrimp, I'm going to try this.
Imagine that after that, we decided to open in downtown next to our rosteria. It's a fish rosteria, just to prove how good is Amarone with scampi.
Gotta be kidding me. Oh, my goodness. All right. That's pretty good. How about some other more traditional things that we would have? Because our listener may not get their hands on raw scampi too often.
Yeah, the other thing, of course, Amarone, our style of Amarone pairs very well with any kind of grilled meat like T-bone and so on. But even something lighter, like if you get, a simple tartare. Simple means without, all the anchovies,
steak tartare,
capers. You just get a steak tartare with a little bit of olive oil on top. And you pair with Amarone is really something very, very unique and super light, by the way. So easy to digest and easy to pair as well.
Yeah, great. Wow, this has been an amazing conversation. I can't wait to try some raw shrimp and Amarone. I really appreciate you taking the time. Do you want to tell our listener where they can find you online and when they visit Verona?
Oh yeah, whenever you come to Verona, that by the way is a beautiful, romantic and Roman city because
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, Romeo and Juliet. So whenever you're there, is we call Città dell'Amore, is the city of love.
Yes.
Most of the people they come there to see the Romeo and Juliet balcony, and the city is really magic. Imagine that in the middle of the city, right in the middle of the city, we have something that is called Arena. Is exactly the copy of the Colosseum.
Yeah.
But in a much better condition, where they play opera during the summer, they sing concerts. It's really a magic place.
Yeah.
And whenever you want to see us and come visit in the cellar or taste the Amarone with scampi and so on, just visit our website where we are in. It's buglioni.it, so buglioni.it, and you can find all the things we do, like not only in the restaurant but even in the middle of the vineyard, we have a small boutique hotel with 16 rooms, so you can come and live with us. The experience of tasting the wines, pairing with the food we prepare, and so on.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mariano.
Grazie. Ciao.
Thank you so much for listening to my conversation with Mariano Buglioni. We hope you learned a little bit about Amarone, Ripasso, and Valpolicella wine, and maybe even tempted you to try raw shrimp paired with Amarone. Or at least be sure to put Verona on your list of places to visit during your next trip to Italy. And because you listened this far, I'm giving you a special gift. The coupon code ROMEO24 will give you 15% off your entire order at wine365.com. That's ROMEO24 at wine365.com. That'll be in the show notes, along with details on how to learn more about Mariano and his wines. I'll be back with another episode for you in about 2 weeks. In the meantime, remember, wine is food. It comes from a place. Enjoy it responsibly.